See where I put things I create at. Children's Picture Book Poetry. Book 1 by DJ Rowbotham. Why dogs don't grow beards. The reason dogs don't grow a beard is a tale that's as short as it's weird. But it isn't a yarn to be feared, it's a story which ought to be cheered, because all dogs, whether short or long-eared, are really big fans of the beard. Some think that it should be revered, and some like it expertly sheared. But if a dog ever appeared with a great big long scraggly beard, it would likely be laughed at and jeered. Because all dogs look daft in a beard, some may think it's bold and it's brash, and some might consider it rash, but it isn't complete balderdash for a dog to be seen with a tash. The never-full gull. The never-full gull, he eats and eats, and then he just eats even more. The never-full gull never ceases to shriek, while he drops his remains on the floor. The never-full gull lives down by the sea, and summer is his favourite time. The never-full gull doesn't care for the heat, but he really adores all the grime. The never-full humans who come for the sun leave rubbish all over the place. The never-full humans all play and have fun, while Gull watches them stuffing their face. The never-full humans are dropping their food, because the dustbins are always too full. The never-full Gull will eat all your meals, your breakfast, your dinner, your snack. The never-full Gull will happily steal. With a sneaky airborne attack, the never-full Gull high in the sky doesn't care where he drops his waste. The never-full Gull is the reason why your chips have a funny taste. So never-full humans, pick up your litter, your rubbish, your garbage, your trash. So never-full humans, don't be a quitter. 'Cause we want the world to last. So never-full humans, keep the world neat. It will help in a million ways. Or when you see white on the food that you eat, let's hope that it's mayonnaise. Please save us. The pangolin is endangered, you know. Why can't we just leave them in peace? If you scare them at all, they roll up like a ball, their numbers slowly decrease. The most trafficked mammal in the world. The sea turtle is endangered, you know. Why can't we just leave them in peace? They think jellyfishes are simply delicious, their numbers slowly decrease. Approximately 2 million in the wild, 2019. All gorillas are endangered, you know. Why can't we just leave them in peace? They live in small groups that are known as troops. Their numbers slowly decrease. Between 100,000 200,000 in the wild, 2019. The orangutan is endangered, you know. Why can't we just leave them in peace? They feel most at ease, living high in the trees. Their numbers slowly decrease. Approximately 120,000 in the wild, 2019. The rhinoceros is endangered, you know. Why can't we just leave them in peace? They have a great sense of smell, but can't see too well. Their numbers slowly decrease. Fewer than 30,000 in the wild, 2019. The tiger is endangered, you know. Why can't we just leave them in peace? They have unique stripes, and there are 5 different types. Bengal, South China, Indo-Chinese, Sumatran, Siberian. Their numbers slowly decrease. Approximately 3,900 in the wild, 2019. The Sumatran elephant is endangered, you know. Why can't we just leave them in peace? They're a large herbivore, so quite hard to ignore. Their numbers slowly decrease. Between 2,400 2,800 in the wild, 2019. The panda bear is endangered, you know. Why can't we just leave them in peace? They don't have much to do, so eat lots of bamboo. Their numbers slowly decrease. Approximately 1,800 in the wild, 2019. The Amur leopard is endangered, you know. Why can't we just leave them in peace? They have beautiful fur, and sometimes they purr. Their numbers slowly decrease. Approximately 84 in the wild, 2019. Nistles Thettles. As I sat on my branch, I said to my friend, Is it nistles or thistles that sting? My friend stared at me with a look of confusion. And then they started to sing. Oh. A thistle will prickle, but nettles will sting, and stings are really not nice. A prickle may tickle, but nettles aren't thistles. So please take my advice. When you're stung by a nettle, a dock leaf will settle the pain that the nettle produced. So rub it on in, and it will begin to make the swelling reduce. When they finished the song, I said to my friend, "So it's nettles, not thistles, that sting?" My friend stared at me with a look of confusion, and then they started to sing. Oh, a thistle will prickle, but nettles will sting, and stings are really not nice. A prickle may tickle, but nettles aren't thistles. So please take my advice. When you're stung by a nettle, a dock leaf will settle the pain that the nettle produced. So rub it on in, and it will begin to make the swelling reduce. So I stopped for a moment and said to my friend, "So it's nettles, not thistles, that sting?" My friend glared at me with a look of confusion, and then they started to sing. Oh, a thistle will prickle, but nettles will sting, and stings are really not nice. A prickle may tickle, but nettles aren't thistles. So please take my advice. When you're stung by a nettle, a dock leaf will settle the pain that the nettle produced. So rub it on in, and it will begin to make the swelling reduce. Then my friend gawped at me, and I knew they could see that my head was beginning to spin. They shouted at me, "It's nettles, not thistles, that irritate the skin. Singing a thistle will prickle, but nettles will sting, and stings are really not nice. A prickle may tickle, but nettles aren't thistles. So please take my advice. When you're stung by a nettle, a dock leaf will settle the pain that the nettle produced. So rub it on in, and it will begin to make the swelling reduce." So now I've been told that it's nettles, not thistles, that make your skin really itch. Unfortunately, that doesn't help me, because I still cannot tell which is which. How animals got their name. The spectacled bear couldn't find his way there. He couldn't see where he was heading. Someone gave him a hint. They said, "Why don't you squint? 'Cause at least then you'll see what you tread in." The Doberman, Pincher has nicked it again. Why won't he get one of his own? He's a strange sort of hound, and if it's not nailed down, he simply can't leave it alone. The edible frog. It has more than one name. Common, water, and green are but two. He's begging you, please, to use either of these, 'cause the other can be misconstrued. The great snapping turtle takes pictures all day. His camera is always to hand. When he makes you laugh, he takes your photograph, 'cause the best ones are when they're not planned. The umbrella bird can often be heard, moaning about different weathers, but it's simply not fair, 'cause what does he care? He's protected by his crested feathers. The monitor lizard is slimmer these days, thanks to the progress of science. The cathode ray tube made him shaped like a cube, but now he's a much sleeker appliance. Children's picture book poetry. Book 1 by DJ Rowbotham. See where I put things I create at. See where I put things I create at. Children's Picture Book Poetry, Book 2 by DJ Rowbotham. The tree that tried just cried and cried because he couldn't get up the hill. No matter how hard he tried and tried, his roots, they just stood still. At the top of the hill was a wood with the others, all of his favorite trees. His mummy and daddy and sisters and brothers, swaying away in the breeze. Whatever the weather, they gathered together. Their branches would touch as they swayed. But he was alone on the side of the hill, despite all the efforts he'd made. And then, one warm day, a bird he knew well sat down and said with a frown, "You always look up at the top of the hill. For once, why don't you look down? So the tree that tried looked down and cried. He saw that his seeds had been sown. As the years had passed, they'd become at last a woodland all of his own. So next time you see a solitary tree, alone on the side of a hill, remember the time the tree tried to climb, but found its best friends standing still. Mon gon monsters. If you hate scary monsters, we need to make them gonsters, 'cause then they will be nonsters. Those mean old scary monsters. They creep into your dreams and steal away your screams, but they're not as bad as they seem. Some even eat ice cream. If one is under your bed, don't lie there filled with dread. It could be a cute one, instead with a fluffy little pink head. So please take some advice. Most of them are nice. They're about as small as mice. Before you scream, think twice, 'cause monsters aren't so scary. They're not all big and hairy. Most are imaginary. Your screams can make them wary. They're not all scary monsters. We don't have to make them gonsters, 'cause we don't want them to be nonsters. Those poor little frightened monsters. The seach. There are wet bits over there and dry bits out of reach. My favourite bit is the middle bit, that I like to call the seach. It uses all the sea and nearly all the beach. The waves roll on, but the ground is still. The seach is where it meets. The seach moves in and out. It's where the foam bits land. I like to walk right on the line, where the water meets the sand. The seach is in one place, but it's moving all the time. There are millions of them all over the world, but I only care about mine. You wouldn't believe what you can achieve if you simply try your best. The things you can do will make you go pew, and then you will need a rest. When you do your best, no one can protest. You cannot give anymore. So try to be you, 'cause whatever you do is all we could ever ask for. Would pigeons would if they could? Would pigeons? Would pigeons laugh? Would pigeons play? Would pigeons like to do nothing all day? If you only knew, what would pigeons do? Would pigeons fly away? Would pigeons sit on branches all day? Would pigeons want you to scare them away? Would pigeons seem to have nothing to do? Would pigeons like to stay? Would pigeons chat and say woo-woo? Would pigeons know it annoys me and you? Would pigeons do it because it makes them laugh? Would pigeons know what to do? Would pigeons would? Would pigeons laugh? Would pigeons play? Would pigeons like to do nothing all day? If you only knew, what would pigeons do? Would pigeons fly away? Would pigeons sit on branches all day? Would pigeons want you to scare them away? Would pigeons seem to have nothing to do? Would pigeons like to stay? Would pigeons chat and say, woo-woo? Would pigeons know it annoys me and you? Would pigeons do it because it makes them laugh? Would pigeons know what to do? Children's Picture Book Poetry, Book 2 by DJ Rowbotham. See where I put things I create at. See where I put things I create at. Children's Picture Book Poetry, Book 3 by DJ Rowbotham. The thingama-what's-it, the what's-it goes into the thingamajig, and the doohickey bolts on the side. The doobry hangs off if it isn't too big. If it is, then the thingies collide. The what's-the-thingy's name will never ever fit. If the doodah is taken away, but the you know what it is and the what you call it will always fit if the gizmo is grey. The bits and bobs on the gadget with knobs will come loose unless the doofer is tight. The diddly thing with the nut like a wing will drop off and you'll be up all night. So say what you mean and mean what you say, or you will never ever finish a job. 'Cause no matter how hard you wish and you pray, the what's it won't go in the thingamabob. The conference tree. The conference tree is where the birds beam. If there's something that must be discussed, a big scary cat, things like that. The stuff that make birds get all fussed. Or news like that Jane from just down the lane has purchased a lovely bird bath. And that post person, Billy, looked really silly when he slipped as he walked down the path. But you'll never see where the conference birds beam, 'cause they never meet when it is light, 'cause during the day they have nothing to say, except when they bicker and fight. But when night time comes, the conference tree hums, and important decisions are made. They all take their turn and then nod with concern, as all the objections are raised, with subjects decided and statements provided. It's time to go over their notes. They queue up politely and then they, quite rightly, cast and then count up the votes. By counting the ayes, the win or loss size is collected and a statement is read. And then they're required, 'cause everyone's tired, to go home and get into bed. So when things need discussing, there's no use in fussing. Try to be kind and polite. Don't butt in and squawk. Let everyone talk. It's the best way to not have a fight. So take my advice. It's nice to be nice. And listen to new points of view. 'Cause you don't need a beak to let everyone speak. It's something that you can do too. The confused poet. Dogs up in trees are a wondrous thing. They perch on a branch and they happily sing. They whistle a lot because they don't know the words. Hang on a moment, I mean. Birds are okay, but I much prefer sheep. In their own weird way, they can help you to sleep. They calm down your brain so you don't have to think. Hang on, I think that's nice, warm. Drinks are quite nice, but they can make you doze, and then you will snore through your mouth and your nose. It will irk everybody and wake the whole house. It's about as annoying as having a mouse in a house will make itself heard. The noise it produces is loud and absurd. It'll make everyone want to jump up and scream. Oh, that's not a mouse, it's big. Trampolines are fun, and you go up and down. One moment up high, and the next near the ground. You'll be bouncing about like you don't have a clue. Oh, hang on a moment, that's... A kangaroo can help you to tell the right time. With its two little hands it will ring and then chime. First there's a tick, and then there's a tock. Oh, hang on a second, I mean. Clocks show the time, or is that a spice? No, thyme is a herb, and it tastes really nice. It will grow in the garden, a bit like a weed. Just dig a big hole and then throw down the... Seeds can be scattered or planted in holes. The best things for digging are probably moles. Their handles are strong and they're very well made. Or am I confusing it with garden? Spades are quite handy if you need to dig. They're much more efficient than trying a pig, because a pig will not dig, so it's useless, you see. About as much use as a dog in a tree. Dodecarecogram. Dogs can see shapes, but they don't really care. They seem to think shapes are a sham. If there's 4 equal sides, they don't see a square. They see a dodecarecogram. Dogs can see shapes, but they can't pronounce turtle, or spangle, or ideogram. A continuous line with no corner is a circle. But all they see is a dodecarecogram. Dogs can see shapes, but they can't use a mangle. The washing will always be jammed. The shape of a bed is like a rectangle, but it's going to get dodecarecogrammed. Dogs can see shapes, but not a slight angle. But they know when they see a wigwam. They know 3 sides make some sort of a triangle, but they'll make it a dodecarecogram. Dogs can see shapes, but their interest is woeful. They'd rather try stealing some ham. If it looks like an egg, they know it's an oval, but it'll soon be a dodecarecogram. Dogs can see shapes, but they don't eat Mexican. The spices make them need a fan. 6-sided polygons are known as a hexagon, but now it's a dodecarecogram. Dogs can see shapes and they steal doctors' buns, especially if they're filled with some jams. 8-sided shapes are called octagons, till they become dodecahedrograms. Dogs can see shapes, but they like to chase buses, or trains or a car or a tram. If shapes look like diamonds, we can call them rhombuses. Then they become a dodecahedrogram. Dogs can see shapes, and in Star Wars they zap a droid. R2-D2 was a painted trash can. If you sit on a square, it'll look like a trapezoid, until dogs make it a dodecahedrogram. Dogs can see shapes, but those parallelograms think they are the funniest shape. But the funniest shape is a dodecahedrogram, because it's the only shape all dogs can make. I can't find my zebra. Oh, Deborah, oh, please find my zebra. He's wandered away once again. The Serengeti is quite large, you see. Would it help if I told you his name? His first name is Pete, and he has hooves, not feet. And he looks quite a lot like a horse, with his pointed ears and short-haired mane, and his black and white stripes, of course. Anita, please help me find Peter. I thought he'd be easy to spot. There's a herd over there, but they all look the same. I really do miss him a lot. So she called out his name in the hope he was tame. And they all started walking our way. But it's hard to ignore a large herbivore. So we backed, very slowly, away. So next time you're out, and you're in a large crowd, hold hands with someone you know. Don't wander off, just hold that hand tight, and never, ever, ever let go. Children's Picture Book Poetry. Book 3 by DJ Rowbotham. See where I put things I create at. See where I put things I create at. Children's Picture Book Poetry. Book 4 by DJ Rowbotham. The Curiousness of Dog Dreams. When you hear me whimper and when you hear me sigh, it's because I'm a superhero and I'm flying in the sky. I soar up in the clouds to find someone in danger. They thank me with a treat, which is a nice thing from a stranger. When you hear me whimper and when you hear me moan, it's because I'm the king of Dogland and I'm sitting on my throne. I'm a very good king, and I treat my subjects nice. So long as they bring lots of treats, I think 4 will suffice. When you hear me whimper and when you hear me yelp, it's because I'm a fireman and someone needs my help. It turned out to be a pussycat who was stuck high in a tree. I don't think it was grateful, because it clawed and scratched at me. When you hear me whimper and when you hear me growl, it's because I'm playing football and I've done a little foul. I feel so bad. It makes me sad. I didn't want to cheat. The referee says it's okay and gives me a small treat. When you hear me whimper and when you see me twitch, it's because I've won the lottery and now I'm super rich. I'll spend a lot and buy a yacht and let my friends all steer it. And with what's left, I'd buy a bone and growl if anyone's near it. But if you don't hear me whimper and if you can't hear me sigh, it's because I'm alone in the kitchen and I'm eating all the pie. But don't blame me, it should not be alone upon the table, because pie that's free, it causes me to become quite unstable. The Curiousness of Cat Dreams. When you hear me whimper and when you hear me sigh, leave me alone. When you hear me whimper and when you hear me moan, I'm trying to sleep. When you hear me whimper and when you hear me yelp, go away! When you hear me whimper and when you hear me growl, don't touch me. When you hear me whimper and when you see me twitch, I seriously, get off me. But if you don't hear me whimper or sigh or moan or yelp or growl or twitch, it's because I've sneaked out the cat flap for a bit of peace and quiet. When birds do impersonations, the duck said quack when the raven cawed. Then the raven loudly quacked. Sorry, said the raven, I was bored. Did you think you were being attacked? The pigeon cooed when the raven cawed. Then the raven loudly cooed. Sorry, said the raven, I was bored. I hope you didn't think it was rude. The dog said, bark, when the raven cawed. Then raven gave out a bark. Sorry, said the raven, I was bored. I was only having a lark. The pussy cat mewed when the raven cawed. Then the raven loudly mewed. Sorry, said the raven, I was bored. I hope you didn't think it was rude. The sheep said, baa, when the raven cawed. Then the raven loudly baaed. Sorry, said the raven, I was bored. And it really wasn't all that hard. The cow she mooed when the raven cawed. Then the raven loudly mooed. Sorry, said the raven, I was bored. I hope you didn't think it was rude. The horse said, neigh, when the raven cawed. And the raven loudly neighed. Sorry, said the raven, I was bored. I hope you weren't too afraid. It was late at night when the raven cawed. He thought they were all in bed. He snuck into their room, but no one snored. They jumped up and said, boo, instead. Children's Picture Book Poetry, Book 4 by DJ Rowbotham. See where I put things I create at.